your marks.
Hey, this is Freya Anderson.
Hi, this is Tom Dean.
I'm Minna Atherton.
Hi, this is Guido.
Hi, my name is Aimee Willmott, and you are listening to the official London Raw podcast.
Hello and welcome to episode 3 of the London Raw podcast. I'm Steve Buckley from poolboy.co.uk. Bob Ballard and Casey Wilde will be along shortly, but there was a bye for the Raw in this round of the ISL, and we caught up with Aimee Willmott and Tom Dean. We'll hear from Minna Atherton, who brings us a Raw from Offshore, and then we'll take a look forward to round 3 of the ISL and the Raw's next match. First though, let's head over to Budapest. All right, joining us from Budapest then, we have two of London Raw's team members, Aimee Willmott and Tom Dean. Welcome both of you to the podcast. We're going to come to you, Aimee, first, if we may, and just ask what you made of the ISL in your first experience of it last week.
It was amazing. I think kind of watching last year and kind of being sort of on the edge of my seat thinking, oh, it'd be so cool to be a part of that. And in hindsight, I probably wouldn't have been here if the Olympics had have happened and everything else had gone to plan. So for me, it's kind of like a little bit of a bonus that I didn't think I'd get to be part of an ISL. So last week to kind of dive in and race for the first time in months anyway was kind of special. So to do it part of the Raw team and obviously the best team everybody wants to be on was a really cool thing to be a part of.
And Tom, you were obviously a bit late getting out to Budapest for various reasons. Were you able to watch? Was it frustrating having to watch from Bath rather than being in Budapest?
Yeah, it was slightly. Obviously, you see all the action, you really want to be part of it, and being stuck in Bath and not being able to race and it all being shifted back the schedule by 1 week was slightly frustrating. But at the same time, we knew that we needed an extra week of training back home. It was the right thing to do, and I don't think we would be in any fit shape to race that first match. So we took the decision as a group and with our coach Dave to postpone it by 1 more week, and then we came out here in much better shape and had 2 good weeks of training under our belt ahead of the second match.
Did you get a good leaving present from Coach McNulty? I saw James Guy reporting 50 100s on 130. Did you get some of that?
Yeah, we did. So obviously, we're just in the build phase and we were kind of just starting a big block of work just before we came out here. And Jimmy and I were both, asking for some big meters. And I think Dave kind of really took that and went all the way with it and kind of ran with it. And 51s was one of the last sets we did out there. It was a nice threshold effect set, and we had a few other big ones before we got on the plane. Yeah.
Tommy, you're relatively new to the McNulty way of doing things, so you probably don't want to serve him up something on a plate like that and tell him, I actually want more, because he'll do that for you.
Good old Dave.
Absolutely you will. Yeah, getting McNulty-fied. No, I've only been out there for 2 years in his program, but yeah, he can whip up a pretty mean set if he wants to, and I think Jim and I should have known a little bit better than to ask for a little bit of a longer one. So, but yeah, he definitely delivered with that one.
Aimee, Tom's talking about getting work in before he headed out to Budapest. Obviously, being in Scotland, you were perhaps out of the water a bit longer because of the various restrictions than some of the guys in England and maybe Wales. How did you feel your shape was heading into Budapest when you left?
Obviously, it was a bit of a nightmare and it was quite frustrating at first when kind of the Bath guys were back, the Loughborough guys were back, and you're on that list of swimmers that can get back in, but there's no facility for you to get back into. So that was kind of, I guess, like a hard pill to swallow, and it was seeing everyone else get back in. I think it was maybe 5 weeks before we entered the water in Scotland, and then it took a long time for us to get back in the gym. So we'd only really started doing any kind of strength work back in a gym 3 or 4 weeks before we left. So it was quite good, I guess, to have a little bit longer, because it meant when we got back in, we were ready to go. We knew what we had to kind of catch up with. And we kind of just built every week from the day we got back in until we definitely knew that the ISL was going ahead. And even kind of doing like some stand-ups in training, mine were pretty shocking. So I was a little bit nervous, but I guess with some more training behind me, the first match was actually okay for me. So yeah, coming out wasn't terrified, but I thought this can kind of go one or two ways, really.
So how did you find your first races then off the back of that? I mean, I don't know what your expectations were based on what you've just said, but how was it?
Some of my best times I've not swam for a couple of years, so the aim while I'm here is to kind of get back down to those and see if I can keep chipping off a little bit of time here and there. So I'm hoping that the next match will be better than the last one, and as kind of we hopefully progress all the way through to the final, that I can kind of keep knocking off a little bit of time here and there. But we've definitely got a bit more of a competition this weekend, so I'll have to kind of step up my game and see if I can swim under that 4:30 mark for the 4IM. And then I guess that'd be another good step in the right direction for hopefully getting even faster.
I have you down very much as a long course swimmer, Aimee. I think that's what you prefer. So what are the big adjustments you're having to make, and what kind of things you're working on in short course?
Yeah, I do prefer long course, I think, because my turns are not the best. I know I'm quite powerful in the stroke and kind of under the water, but kind of getting around the wall, it always seems to take me quite a long time. And in short course swimming, and especially a 400, there's more turns and more time that can be lost. So the only kind of advantage, I guess, of having the restrictions back at home was that the pool was split into 225s in Stirling. So I have done a little bit more short course training. So I'm kind of hoping that with that little bit of extra training, I can get down to my best times, because when I did those sort of 4 or 5 years ago, I was still in Middlesbrough and training short course all the time. So I know I've definitely got some things to sharpen up on. And I guess the day before each match, I'm trying to kind of work on those things. And hopefully by the end, they're not too terrible.
Tom, you heard Aimee talking about getting her first races in there. What did you make of the Raw's first match, if you were able, from what you were able to see?
Yeah, I think it was really, really good. I mean, obviously a big hit with the Aussies not being part of the team this year, and obviously there are a few of us from Bath who weren't present. But despite that, absolutely smashed it out of the park. Really, really dominated that first match. And it's just exciting to see that, knowing that it was only a week until I'd be part of that team as well. And hopefully we're going to be able to carry that momentum into the next few matches. And as Aimee said, all the way through into the final, which is exciting.
We really couldn't wait for the 4 guys to get here, because we just knew that the gaps in the programme where we weren't necessarily so strong, those Bath guys were going to fill. So hopefully match 2 will be really exciting.
Yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to ask you, Aimee. You were probably hit harder than most with Holly's absence, which meant that you had a pretty heavy programme. Are you looking forward to match 2 with being able to focus a bit more?
Yeah, I think we kind of had, obviously, Holly's absence, which meant the 4IM, myself was, the 4 free, sorry, Emily Large was in, and myself. And I think I'll probably kind of be in that event as we move forwards. But to kind of do 4 free, 2 fly and 4IM, especially as the matches get close together, will be quite tough. So hopefully me and Holly can share out some of the 200 flies, and I'll probably be joining her a couple of times in the 4 free. So it just gives me a little bit, I guess, less load, and hopefully I can really concentrate on earning as many points as I can in the 4IM. When it comes to one of the last individual events, I guess it could be close and we could need some points. So it'll be the time where I'll need to step up and think about getting as many points as possible.
Tom, there's quite a bit of expectation on your shoulders because of the way you've come through and the kind of massive improvements you've made in a short time. How much did the World Championships help last year in terms of preparing you for something like this?
I think the World Champs was, it's obviously the biggest stage I've ever raced at. So it's just a level above anything I've ever walked out to, and with the crowd size and everything like that. But I feel like every time you do step up another level in that way, then, that just becomes the norm. And then the next time you do it, you're like, okay, I've been here before, I know what to expect. And it's not just the size of the arena and the crowd, but it's the caliber of swimmer that you're stepping on the blocks next to. And I was fortunate enough to swim a semi-final on an individual event and the final on the relay out there. So, I've stepped up next to these boys before, and, I know that I'm up there with them. So it definitely helped me in that respect. But this competition is, unlike anything else you can really compare it to. So, it helped me knowing kind of that I'll be more confident when I get on the blocks next to a world-class field. But, the whole atmosphere and the back-to-back racing is going to be completely different to a normal, 6-7 day competition with heats and finals. So, there are a few things that I could definitely take away from it.
Aimee, with Tom and obviously the others making their ISL debuts this weekend, you did the same in the first match for the Raw. Is there any advice you'd give them in terms of the meet and how it works?
I think whilst I was there, I didn't even really notice that there was no crowd. The atmosphere was amazing and everyone's just trying to race for themselves, but also, for their team. So I think that's something that's really special and really different that I've not really been a part of. And since I was maybe 10, 11 years old, is racing for yourself, but also racing for your teammates and knowing that they're putting in the hard work to help you and you're putting in the hard work to help them. And it'll just be such a blast. And I bet Tom can't wait to get going.
So, Tom, have you been able to get to the pool and actually watch any of the racing just to get a feel for how it works?
I haven't actually seen any live yet. We've had a pretty packed training schedule since coming back here, and between doing, double and even triple session days with gyms and stuff, I haven't really found the time to get myself to the pool and watch something live. But I've absolutely been watching it on the TV and on my computer and on BBC Sport and, wherever I can, just to get a feel for how it plays out. And yeah, I'm super excited to be a part of it and get out there and race for the first time in 10 months, I think. So yeah, it's exciting.
And when do you guys find out, like how far before the meet do you find out what events you're going to be doing?
Pretty much the night before.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of, there's a lot of, I guess, planning and preparation that goes into like the tactics side of it, which we don't really know too much about. We've just got to step up on the day and swim fast. But Steve and Mel have been great at kind of watching a lot of the events, I guess, working out who we're racing, and you kind of do it yourself, but to know what events you're doing kind of comes quite last minute, and you just got to be ready to kind of do whatever you're asked to do, really.
So, Tom, any funky events you fancy trying while you're out there, if you get the chance, something that you wouldn't normally do, but you think you might actually do quite well in?
Yeah, well, I mean, as Aimee said, it's just a case of doing whatever's asked of you and delivering on the day. Obviously, I want to get the main ones under my belt that are my forte. I'm looking forward to hopefully having a 4 and a 3 and stuff like that out there. But you just don't know, depending on everyone else's schedule. And as Aimee said, depending on the other teams, it's very tactical as well. But, for all I know, I could be thrown in a 400 IM or, chucked in a relay on a 100 free or something. So I'm just got to wait and see. And it's exciting almost not knowing the schedule, because I'm going to get a chance to hopefully swim some events that aren't in my my core program, which would be cool.
Yeah, and that was something I wanted to ask Aimee about, is how was it for you getting involved in some relay action? And is that something you'd like to do again?
Yeah, it was very foreign. I guess stood on the block thinking I'm about to go third in a 4x1 freestyle was something that I probably never thought I would be a part of. I've raced 4x2s maybe once or twice in my swimming career, but to kind of get the call up for a 4x1, kind of put on my sprinting pants and give it my best shot was something that I was like, right, well, if it's got to be done and someone's got to do it, then I'm going to get in and race as hard as I can. So yeah, it was a little bit kind of foreign for the body to be like, oh, you finished, what's happened? It's 4 lengths, and just a little bit of a shock, but it was so much fun to kind of get up there and do it with sort of 7 other girls really behind the block.
And you've been in the bubble since the very beginning. So how do you occupy your spare time? Because you've got a lot of spare time out there.
Yeah, I think I was saying before, I was kind of a bit anxious about coming. I obviously wanted to be here and be part of the ISL and race, but knowing that it was kind of 6 weeks away from home, kind of you're in your own room, you can't really mix with people, no hugs, all the stuff that you're just kind of used to having at home was something I was a bit kind of apprehensive about. But I've actually found myself really busy. Kind of this training schedule is different each day, so you kind of don't really know what's going on. You don't have a lot of time to kind of hang around. And when I am hanging around, I'm kind of, as most people do, Netflix, emails. I brought like coloring pencils and paper and just things that I thought, well, if I'm literally bored of watching TV 24/7, how else can I turn off and sort of read a book? And there's actually, the weather's been all right. So it's been quite nice to get out, go for a walk and just get some fresh air. And yeah, I've not found it too bad. And as I said, we've almost been here sort of 3 weeks now.
So we're going to get loads of pictures of the Danube and stuff like that when you come back.
Yeah, it is pretty. I say drawing, I'm kind of colouring in pictures, but yeah, nothing too artistic.
And Tom, how are you coping with 90 minutes a day outside the bubble?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't, made the most of my 90 minutes every single day. I think I've been on 1 or 2 walks so far. It's very much, training camp vibes at the moment because I haven't raced yet. So it's quite regimented in that, you train in the morning, and because we've been doing tough sessions, it's a case of fueling, pre and post training, recovering if that means a nap or whatever, going back to the pool and then going straight to the gym, making sure you're eating at the right times in between it. So it's been kind of head down for the first 2 weeks really, and just focusing. But there have been some slightly longer periods of downtime than a normal camp or back home training and stuff like that. And having limited freedoms when it comes to leaving and stuff has been something that I've just had to adjust to. Meal times are good. We get to spend a long time in the dining hall, and that's when you can really socialize and speak to a few other people and kind of just hang out there a little bit. So it's not been as bad as I was expecting. As Aimee said, I was a little bit nervous coming out here as well, just because of the limitations, but I've actually really enjoyed it.
And you've got your next match coming up in a few days' time. Aimee, you've already mentioned that it's going to be tougher than your opening match. Is there much sort of messaging around that coming from the coaches to you about this being a step up in quality, perhaps?
I wouldn't necessarily say a lot of kind of the pressure, but Mel's kind of philosophy is that we build the whole way through so that we're the best we can be by hopefully the final. And I think that's kind of a great way of looking at it, to kind of get in. And if I'd have gone almost a PB in match one, I'd have been thinking, how am I going to hold on to that form for 6 weeks? Because when it really counts and I need to step up, will I be able to hang on to that? So we were training quite hard the first week we were here, then obviously raced, and it'll be nice to kind of hopefully step up, and especially in the medleys, the females in the Tokyo team are quite strong. So if I can get down a bit more and get closer, but the whole team knows kind of who's swimming what and what teams have kind of shone already. So we're all kind of aware without necessarily kind of Mel and Steve kind of like giving you the lecture.
And Tom, are you looking forward to testing yourself against some of the guys from the current and the Tokyo team? I mean, you might find yourself up against Zach Apple, for example. He's been very impressive so far.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you can read the stat sheets, for all the matches before and check everyone's times and watch it all and stuff. And which I do to a degree, but, if you do it too much, it kind of gets in your head a little bit too much. So it's just very much a case of getting out there and racing the race, which, sounds like, well, why wouldn't you do that every competition? But some competitions are more, time orientated, but these are very, very much racing for the points and for the team. But no, it will be exciting to step up on the blocks and see where we are, because as I mentioned, the last race we did was Edinburgh back in early March, I think. Similar to Aimee, we did a few stand-ups in the return to training phase in July. But apart from that, we haven't raced in well over half a year. So it's going to be interesting. And I think it's been a mixed bag so far. But I'm pretty confident that the training we've been doing is going to definitely pay off.
I asked Aimee about long course over short course. I imagine you prefer long course, but Tom, in terms of your preparation, mainly in Bath, you do 50 metres, don't you?
We do. I mean, I think we do 3 or 4 short course sessions a week on a normal in a normal training year, but that hasn't been the case for the last few months. I do prefer long course for my stroke. Just personally, I'm able to settle into it a lot more and have that real kind of length of the stroke play to my advantage. But in Bath we train short course for the whole return to training phase, so 10 weeks leading up to August, and then we've been kind of doing about half and half since coming back, and then obviously ever since we've been out here we've been doing a few short course sessions in the competition pool. So I've been getting a fair bit of short course training in, and it is very much a case of everything's just picking the tempo up a little bit more, because sometimes you're swimming less than half of the race above the water. So you have to tweak your race plan a little bit, but we'll see.
All right. Well, you're both going to need to get your race heads on, your race faces on for the race this weekend. But let's move on, because you are obviously in a bubble with your Raw teammates in Budapest, and we wanted to find out how well you know them. So we're going to play a little game with you, if we may. Now, Aimee.
Yes.
The grapevine told us that one of your teammates, Amaury Leveaux, may have been one of your swimming idols as a younger swimmer. Is that right? Because if that's not right, this is going to fall horribly flat.
Oh no, this is going to be so bad if this is all about him. Basically, yeah, when I was 15, I qualified for my first senior meet, and it was the European short course in Rijeka, I think that's how you pronounce it, and it was in 2008. And I was like a rabbit in the headlights, kind of all these stars that I'd watched on telly. I was like, I'm going to be swimming in a pool with them. And just to kind of be there and think that this is kind of like real life, and this is like people actually do this for a living and break world records and whatever else. And I was actually there watching him break his world record. And I remember turning around and being like, how incredible is this? Like, people actually do break world records, and like you can see it. And as a 15-year-old, I was totally like kind of in awe and everything. And it was just amazing. And I rang my mum and told her all about it. And she was like, right, well, maybe that could be you one day. And it just kind of like spurred on something, I guess, that until you see it and you're in that environment, you don't realize how special and how amazing it is to be the best in the world. And yeah, he's still got that world record. So I'm going to say that it was partly because I was watching it.
Well,
Excellent.
that was good news. We have for you. We're going to play a little true or false game.
No.
It is about Amaury. Tom, feel free to chip in. This is a team
I'll
game.
try. Absolutely.
But we have 5 facts for you.
Okay.
Or are they all facts? Because we're going to play.
No.
Last week, if you were listening, you would have heard us call this lion or lying. But
Okay.
Nice.
in honor of Amaury, we've gone with Leveaux or Le-Faux.
Okay.
Oh, I see what you've done there. Very good. Yeah.
So Katie will share with you 5 facts about Amaury, and all the two of you need to do is decide whether they are true or false.
Okay.
Okey-dokey.
Very simple.
Okay.
Quizmaster Katie, over to you.
Right, question number 1, and I'm going to have to get a French accent going for this. Okay. Amaury's full name is Amaury Jean-Jacques Boniface Rigobert Leveaux. True or false?
Oh no. I'm not this much of a stalker.
I think Amaury would definitely have a name like that if you read out the full thing.
I don't. The only thing is, chatting to her, I feel like he's like there's an Edward in there or something, because it's like part of the family line. But I'm not really sure. But it sounds extravagant enough to be him. So should we go with true?
I think we should go with true on that one.
Right,
Yeah,
go for it. True.
You're saying true?
Yeah. Oh no.
Ooh.
Oh no, I'm afraid that is false. Amaury's middle name is Ramon. So there we go. There we
Oh,
are.
right.
Just one name.
Just one, yeah. I'm afraid
Let
we
down.
decided to
Oh, right.
go with a full name for you.
French
Right.
middle name.
Question 2, Katie.
Question number 2. Amaury currently holds the world record for 100 metres freestyle short course, and he is the tallest man to have held that record. Is that true or false?
He's got to be. He's like 6'8" or something.
Yeah, but some of those French boys were really, really tall, weren't they?
I don't know how tall Alain Bernard was.
I want to say 6'5" or 6'6". He's definitely tall.
So should we go taller? Because he's 6'8", I think.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I reckon.
True.
Yeah, she's definitely a fair few inches taller.
Yeah,
Yeah,
true.
I reckon.
You're going true?
Yeah, if I got none of these right, I'd be so embarrassed.
Okay, you said true.
What?
Yeah, incredibly, I had to triple check this. Incredibly, that is false. Because although Amaury is incredibly tall at 2 meters and 2 centimeters, Gustavo Borges of Brazil is 1 centimeter taller at 2 meters 3. And
Oh, really?
What happened that?
And he held the world record.
Are you going to go and measure him now?
Yep, I am. I'm going to ask him exactly how tall he is and get a tape
Stand on
measure.
tiptoes.
caveat here is that is based on his in his ISL profile. So maybe you can make him a bit taller and come back and tell us.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Okay, question number 3, Katie.
Question number 3. In 2018, Amaury competed in a survivor-style reality show called The Island on French TV, where he revealed that he is really scared of insects. Is that true or false?
Oh, was he in that? Was it
You
not?
must have talked about that. Come on.
No, he hasn't actually.
I haven't heard that one cropped up.
No.
Go on, you've got a 50-50 chance.
Come on, a big 6'8" bloke.
I've got a
scared of insects, surely.
no. Surely
Surely
not. But we've
not.
got all the other ones wrong, so who knows?
Oh, she gets all 5 wrong. You're coming home.
Right, should we go?
Right.
You reckon?
Yeah.
The last 2 have been false, though. I reckon. Oh, I
Go on,
don't know.
then you take it. Take it, Tom.
All right. Let's say true on this one. Let's say true on this one.
You're calling him a wimp, are you?
I am for insects. Yeah.
Not to his face.
All right,
Yeah,
you're
not
saying
to
true.
fix.
Yes,
Hey.
Tom.
There we
How
are.
has that not come up yet?
Really? Bloody hell! I did not know that.
There's loads
Very
of
good.
flies buzzing around as well, and I haven't seen
Yeah, I
him
know.
kind of being too dramatic.
No, it's
All
true.
right, let's move on. Question number 4, Katie, please.
Question number 4. Born in 1985 in the French city of Le-Faux, Amaury was late to training seriously for swimming, and up until his teenage years was considered one of France's top junior figure skaters.
No, I'm not having that. No, not having that. Figure skating, no chance. Is he throwing around that 6'8" frame on a
Figure
nice
skater.
If you said basketball, I would have said, yeah, probably. Well, yeah.
Yeah, something like that. No, I've got to say false on that one.
I'm not having that either.
You're saying false?
Yeah.
Yeah, false. I reckon.
Okay. 2 down.
Very good.
I couldn't see. You don't see 6'8" figure skaters, do
He
you?
might
Let's
not
be
have been
honest.
6'8" when he was 14. You never
No,
know.
but he wouldn't have shut up that much.
I'm going to ask him all about this, and he's going to be like, "Why do you want to know, you weirdo?"
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. You already think I'm a stalker.
So this is for the win, then.
Yeah, this is for the win.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, pressure's on.
Yeah.
Okay.
We do well.
Question 5. In 2014, Amaury had a run-in with Beyonce and Jay-Z, who had stolen his seat at a Paris Saint-Germain match at the Parc de... How do we say this? Parc de Prince in Paris. True or false?
That's got to be true. That sounds exactly like him to be hanging out with those guys at PSG. 100%.
And he does love PSG.
Imagine if this is true. That would be even better than anything else.
Okay, you're saying true?
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
Please be true. Yes.
Oh,
Yes,
mad.
it was.
For the
Amazingly. At the time, he
crazy.
tweeted, "Dear Beyonce, last night you were in my seat in the square of the Parc des Princes. Let that not happen again."
That's so good.
Telling her off.
Nice passive aggressive on Twitter.
Oh my gosh.
Very
that's
good.
amazing.
3 right. I think we'll consider that a win. Well done.
Very
Yeah.
good.
Round of applause.
Wow, thank you.
Brilliant. Thanks for playing along. Good fun. But we will let you now get back to your activities in Budapest. I think you've got
Thank
the afternoon
you.
off, did I hear?
I have, yes.
I do. Oh, we both do. Oh, happy
Yeah.
days. Yeah. Window afternoon off, as per.
Take it easy then in preparation for your match on Friday, and we'll wish you the best of luck for your swimming.
Yeah,
Thank
good
you.
luck.
Thank you very much.
Have a good weekend.
Thank you.
The Roar from Offshore.
Hi, this is Minna Atherton coming to you from Brisbane. Them coming out on top was fantastic. They were so far ahead of everyone else and everyone swam really well. So it's really exciting to see Marie's 100 fly just to start the meet off, just really set the tone for the whole 2 days, I think. I haven't done any skins at all. And I heard that they'd changed the rules so that it could be other strokes. I was very excited, and I was actually speaking to Kira about it a bit, and we were both disappointed that I wouldn't be able to be there. Just from watching last year's freestyle skins, it was a really cool concept that I would definitely like to have a go at. Yeah, I was a bit sad that I couldn't be there. Rob messaged me at the start of the year just asking if I'd want to be part of the team again. I was stoked, and yeah, I was like counting down the days to when it would start again so I could race. But when we were unable to go, I was really disappointed. Still get to be a part of the team from home, and I'm really enjoying watching everything still. Keep the ball rolling. Just go out and have fun, give it your best, and you can't do much more than that.
So we heard there from Aimee Willmott and Tom Dean, who are over in Budapest and getting ready for the Raw's next match, which comes up in a few days' time. They'll be up against the LA Current, the Tokyo Frog Kings, and DC Trident. And as we've heard from them, Bob, it's going to be a much tougher test than their first match.
Well, it will be, but also they've got the reinforcements. We got Tom, and obviously James is now back there, and there's going to be 4 swimmers who weren't there last time round who will definitely strengthen the London Raw. So whilst they're up against obviously a team that's very strong in the Tokyo Frog Kings, you look at the London lineup with those reinforcements, and I've got to say they'll be even stronger relative to what everybody else is doing when they meet up this weekend.
The Current and the Frog Kings had a really good showdown in the third match of this season, Casey. came down just to the skins really in the end. But no, they've gone toe to toe in what would possibly quite a draining match just a few days ago, whereas London have had 11 days off since their first match. Do you think that will be an advantage?
Yeah, I think so. I think it sounds like everyone, just from Aimee and Tom speaking just then, it sounds like everyone's really, really keen to get back into racing and will probably be sort of chomping at the bit to get back out there, which I think is really helpful. I also think there's something helpful in having had that extra time to really develop themselves as a team, to get to know each other better, to practice relay takeovers, all that kind of stuff. So I think we will see a much stronger outing from London Raw this time, even after a really strong start in the first place.
Bob, you've already mentioned James Guy, and obviously we've spoken to Tom. The 200, 400 free hasn't been a strength for anyone they're racing this weekend, so that could be a real upside for London.
Absolutely. Will James do the 400? Because he hasn't done it much recently. He kind of dropped that out of his program. I wonder whether he'll do it. I mean, Tom definitely would do it. And James, being the kind of swimmer he is in the team environment, will probably want to do it. Just to help the team get some more points. But the 400 free is definitely an area where London Raw can capitalise. Possibly a jackpot, possibly a 1-2 in that.
And similarly on the women's side, Holly coming in, Katie will make a difference to the 400 free. Aimee may get that event off, as she alluded to, with Freya Anderson coming in as well. That could make a big difference to the relays.
Yeah, I think it does take the pressure off some of the other swimmers who had to step up with events that they wouldn't necessarily normally sort of choose to do in the first round. As Aimee said, she may well have to step up and do the 400 free again, but we all know how tough she is and how kind of resilient, and she could bounce back between events. But to the extent that we can hold back a little bit for relays, I think that will be brilliant, because I think we're all starting to see how important they are in terms of the overall standings and impact on skins, choice of skins and stuff. So I think it's going to be really about conserving energy for relays.
Well, that medley relay, or the two medley relays this weekend, are really going to be vital, aren't they? We've already seen the impact of the skins on the matches so far, but for this weekend, it will be vital, Bob, for London to try and win those and keep Beryl Gastadello and Ryan Murphy away from the skins, because they've been, extremely impressive in those events. Yeah,
they have, and you don't want to give them kind of a blank checkbook on this, because they will capitalise and have capitalised all the way through. But I think the dynamic's going to change a little bit, obviously, with those new swimmers coming in. As far as the men's relay is concerned, obviously James Sky could do both the freestyle or the butterfly, whichever he chose. I think he'll probably go butterfly with that option, or the team will go with the option of the butterfly. So again, I think on both sides they've got enough depth that they won't have to worry about too much. It's a question of whether they load one team up, as some teams have done over the last couple of weekends, with making sure you have a very, very strong first team, or whether you think you've got enough depth to run it over two teams.
Well, I think James Guy on the fly may be the change that we'll see. That was where, if you look at the results so far, that's where the Raw lost a little bit of time to Current in the medley relay, just based on the results we've seen. And then likewise, maybe Freya Anderson coming into the women's team might make a difference. They were on paper, of course, up at 300 metres when you compare the performances so far. And Abby Weitzel for the Current was a decisive factor in them doing so well in that event in their last match. So I think it's going to be very close in all of those medley relays, men and women, between Current, Raw and the Frog Kings. And we will wait and see who wins, but there could be some very interesting decisions to be made on the skins. Certainly it could all come down to those skins at the end. So hopefully we're in for an exciting match, and Raw can do the business at the weekend. But they weren't in action in the last round of matches. We saw two matches at the weekend, and there were some notable performances from some of the other Brits who are taking part in the ISL, not on the Raw's roster, but in the other teams, particularly for New York Breakers. Bob, Joe Litchfield was very impressive again.
Absolutely superb, absolutely spectacular, I thought, and he really should have had a win as well. Just missed out on getting a victory, but was top three on numerous occasions. PBs all over the place. Whatever Dave Hemmings is doing at Loughborough is working particularly well for him right now. And of course, we mustn't forget Max did very well in the 400 IM last week as well. So the Litchfields are coming up with the goods in the ISL, and I think Joe's going to improve massively over the next couple of weeks. And it's a good night. Although they're on different teams, there's a nice little rivalry between the two brothers in terms of how much they can achieve over there.
I was going to say, is that set the bar for Max? He had the weekend off as well with energy, but he's back this weekend. Do you think he'll feel he's got something to prove? Not let his younger brother put him in the shade?
Absolutely. That brotherly love probably extends to outside the pool, but maybe not inside the pool because they're in similar kind of events. And I think that 400 IM for Max is obviously the thing that he really treasures and wants to do, particularly when the Olympics comes around next year. All right, that's long course, of course, but short course wise, I think he's going to do something quite spectacular this weekend.
And Joe was setting PBs all over the place, as you say. Someone else who was doing that for the Breakers, having done something similar in the first round of matches, was Abbey Wood, who came back and swam extremely fast and took her maiden ISL victory in the 400 IM. Just missed her PB in that one, but set PBs again in the 200 and 100 IMs. Katie, she's really on fire at the moment.
Yeah, she's doing absolutely brilliantly. She's having a great series, and she looked so chuffed after that 400 IM, having just missed the win in the 100. I think it's the thing that, it's showing how special the ISL is, that it's letting people become names. Like Abbey and Joe have obviously always been very good swimmers in their own right, but they're really, really becoming talking points as a result of this series, and they're being given the chance to show what they can do in a variety of different events. And I think it must be doing wonders for their confidence. It's brilliant.
And at the risk of turning this into the New York Breakers podcast, I thought Matt Richards caught my eye. He's not quite at his PBs, but given the build up that everyone's had coming into this, I think he's swimming very consistently. He's just a few tenths off his PB in most of his events, and the Breakers obviously think quite a lot of him because they had him in 6 races, I think, at the weekend. So he's a big part of their team.
Well, the American commentators are talking about him, so they've obviously been given a bit of a nod by the New York Breakers on that one.
But yeah, he's set himself up for a good season, I think. But having looked into this, one thing I found quite interesting, in case you might relate to this, having swum as well, is how infrequently the swimmers swim some of these events. I mean, I picked up that Molly Renshaw set a PB in the 100 IM, but her previous rank time on the rankings was 5 years ago from a county championships or something. So people are getting to try something new.
Yeah, and I think it's partly that, and I think certainly in Europe the focus is long course. Yeah, we have a very short course season, but it's sort of seen as slightly less important, I guess, because the major meets are long course. But this is giving it some value, not only sort of domestically, but I guess so the US swimmers will never swim short course meters generally. Some of them this will be the first time that they've ever had a chance to race in short course meters, and therefore it's another reason why we're seeing names that we might not recognise. People who are very good yard swimmers, to be honest, that means nothing to me. I don't understand the times, I don't understand the conversions, so it's made it really difficult for me to gauge how good a lot of the US college swimmers are. And now we're starting to see it, and it's really exciting seeing new names and how good everyone really is.
It has indeed been excellent. Right, time to draw this podcast to a close. One final thought before we leave. Who are you going for in the Raw Current, Frog Kings, DC Battle Bob?
Can't go for anybody other than the London Raw, can I? It's in my contract.
Katie, you agree?
Yeah, all in for the Raw.
Under no duress whatsoever, I agree. So let's keep our fingers crossed for a Raw victory at the weekend. Bob, Katie, thank you very much as ever for your inputs.
See you next time.
And if you want to get in contact, or if you've got a question for us that you want us to put to the team next week, you can go to Twitter. I'm at Poolboy, or at Poolboy UK on Facebook or Instagram, or there's a link in the description to this podcast if you want to actually leave us a voice message and ask your question yourself. In the meantime, we will be back next week with the next episode of the London Raw podcast, but thanks for listening.
You've been listening to the London Raw podcast by Poolboy. For more episodes, visit www.poolboy.co.uk/raw.